Good evening or good afternoon, wherever you may be in the world. Of course, this is the professor, and welcome to my YouTube channel entitled The Professor. Now, like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to do a series of videos on NovaTech, and the purpose of the video is really to educate the public about that type of Ponzi scheme. So we all know by now that NovaTech was a Ponzi scheme. And of course, the Ponzi scheme unraveled, which is the reason why many of you couldn't access the website or couldn't get your money back. Today, I'm going to talk about the main person in NovaTech is Cynthia Petion. And I'm going to talk about her background, where she come from, how long she's been doing this, and the type of fraudulent company that she already been involved with in the past. We're going to really tell you about who this person is. And here's the reason why I think this is important. When you are ready to give money to people to invest in your behalf, you need to know who the person is. You need to know their background. You need to know whether they qualify. You need to know whether they've done this before. You need to know where they've been, what they've done. For example, you wouldn't want to invest your money with someone who has money problem. Obviously, the likelihood they'll steal your money is pretty high, especially if they are under financial stress. So let's get going. Who is Cynthia Petion? What I know is that Cynthia Petion was born in 1954 in Florida. Now, certainly the picture that you've seen online and the picture that I've seen, certainly she looks nothing like those pictures. Now, obviously, she's 69 years old, almost 70. And she grew up mostly in New York. Now, she claimed to have gone to Stony Brook, part of the SUNY New York State University system. But when I called SUNY to double check on this, they have absolutely no record of Cynthia Petion ever attended school there or ever graduated. So the question of whether Cynthia Petion has ever really been to college, it's up in the air. Now, this is what I find very amazing. And I'm going to show you guys why it is important to know who are you dealing with when you are talking about money, and even just investing money in a company. Just because somebody put a website up on the internet, and just because everybody's saying, well, I'm making money here, I'm making money there, it doesn't absolve you of your own liability to yourself to really do your own research. Now, it did take me a very long time to find out that Cynthia Petion was the last person on earth you would want to entrust with your money, and I'm going to explain to you why. Okay? Because if someone cannot manage their own money, there's no way they're going to be able to manage yours. And when you give money to NovaTech, basically allowing them to invest in your behalf, which we're going to talk about later, you are telling them it's okay to do that. And of course, you have no recourse if they don't pay you back. And I'm going to explain to you why you have no recourse. But first, let's talk about the financial responsibility meter of someone like Cynthia Petion, for example. Now, in 2012, I know this was almost 14 years ago, but in 2012, Cynthia Petion filed for bankruptcy in the Eastern District of New York. And the documents are there for people to see. It's not a secret. Anyone who ever filed for bankruptcy, there'll be, documents for the public to see. It's a matter of public information. And over $600,000 of bad debt was discharged by the court. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean in itself that Cynthia Petion is bad with money, or obviously, it doesn't necessarily mean that, because a lot of people file for bankruptcy for different reasons. But if I'm going to have somebody invest my money for me, I want to see a track record of financial responsibility. So I'm not going to hand my money over to someone who couldn't manage their own money. I'm not saying that they could manage no money at all. I'm just saying this is an indication that I'll be very careful. But beside the bankruptcy in 2012, now let's talk about what happened between 2007, 2018, 2019, okay? In 2017, she got sued in West Palm Beach, Florida, for failing to pay her creditor $4,987. Now, this is not a lot of money. I mean, $4,000, obviously, it's money, but I'm saying that it's not a huge amount of money. And this is where I have serious problem with that, because that happens 2 years before she launched NovaTech. So in 2017, there was a civil judgment against her for failure to pay creditors for $4,000. In 2018, a year before she launched NovaTech, there was another judgment in West Palm Beach, Florida, from the same district court for $12,756 because she didn't pay her bill, she didn't pay the creditors. The creditors sued her and got a judgment against her, which judgment to this day she hasn't paid. Now, here's where I think this is important. In 2019, just a few months before she registered NovaTech in the island of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines, she went to foreclosure. She had a house in Florida that was foreclosed on. And the foreclosure judgments was for up to $400,000 because she couldn't pay her mortgage. Okay? Now, guys, let's be very open here. I just told you a financial trend of irresponsibility. Now, and I don't want to say that people that have gotten into trouble financially or who lost their job or who couldn't pay their bill, they're bad people. That's not what I'm saying. I mean, all of us have gone to some financial hard time, which is what life is about, unless you're rich. But what I'm saying is, this is not an indictment of Cynthia Petion because she's been unable to pay her bills up to the time 2019 when she opened NovaTech. But I'm saying to you that if that person is someone you're going to entrust with your money, you need to do that type of investigation. You need to find out whether this person has been a responsible human being when it's come to managing money. So it's very clear that this is a woman who has no idea, okay, for whatever reason, can't manage her own money. So, and I would explain to you, NovaTech, Cynthia Petion lied to all of you, to all of the investors. Number one, Cynthia Petion never had any license whatsoever to sell securities, to trade, nothing, zero. And I bet this is part of the reason why NovaTech is registered in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, because St. Vincent and the Grenadines has a law that actually seal all those corporate documents so you can't see what is being filed and who is the owner of the company. But as we speak, the professor has written a lawyer in St. Vincent, and we're going to go to court in St. Vincent and the Grenadines to unseal those documents so we can see exactly what Cynthia Paton put on those corporate documents. Okay? Now, having said that, when Cynthia Petion launched NovaTech, she had absolutely no money. She has absolutely no money. And she was hoping by launching NovaTech, it's a way for her to make money. Both her husband, Eddie Petion, and her were actually at their wit's end. They didn't have any money. Things were hard for them. They figured, hey, if we start the Ponzi scheme, by the time people figured out it's a Ponzi scheme, it will be 2 years, 3 years. We would have made millions, perhaps billions of dollars, and we would have actually then run away from it all. This is basically, this was the plan, okay? This was the plan. So what I find amazing is that these two people, Cynthia and A.D. Petion, were actually in financial trouble the same year, 2019, that they had opened up NovaTech. And a lot of people, and I know a lot of people in my community, in the Haitian community and other communities, they run after her. Okay, and I'm going to talk about these people who actually was people who were promoting NovaTech, because I think some of the people who were promoting NovaTech, they're not stupid, dumb people. They're smart people, and they should have done their due diligence before they go out and promoting this as a legitimate type of investment. Now, aside from the financial trouble that I've just elaborated, that I just delineated for you, people forgot that Cynthia Petion was involved in something called AWS Mining. In fact, she had given an interview 5 years ago saying that she was the vice president of AWS Mining, and AWS Mining was in many countries in Africa, including Kenya, South Africa, and that she has all this big farm where she was mining coins, Bitcoins, okay? And I can tell you, I don't think Cynthia Petion knows how to spell Bitcoins, okay? Okay. So this is the woman who was selling you something that was purely fraud. Certainly, AWS Mining went under. Okay, obviously it was a fraudulent thing. A lot of people lost money. But no one seemed to look at who was the person behind, at the time, behind AWS Mining. Now, when AWS Mining basically fell, Cynthia Petion decided that, hey, I think I can come up with another fraudulent activity, which is NovaTech. Okay. Now, since 2022, okay, because remember, NovaTech was open in 2019, 2022, 2023, there's been a series of states in the United States and countries like Canada, Russia, that have issued fraud alert, saying to people, hey, stay away from NovaTech. NovaTech is a Ponzi scheme. The first country who actually did it was Russia, okay? Vladimir Putin, Russia, they issue a fraud alert saying, hey, stay away from NovaTech. NovaTech was fraudulent. The second country that issued a fraud alert, I believe, was Canada, Ontario. And I'm talking about, countries now, Ontario, the country of Ontario. They issued a fraud alert. In fact, the country of Canada, the state of Canada, of Ontario, issued this fraud alert. In fact, the Securities Exchange Commission actually had a hearing not so long ago. I believe it was early December 16. And obviously, no one expected Cynthia Petion or her husband to show up, so they didn't show up. But we have a few states, for example. California had issued a fraud alert and a cease and desist letter, basically directing Cynthia and her husband, Eddie, not to advertise the securities that she had no license to advertise in California. The state of Washington State, also issued a cease and desist letter. In fact, the Securities Commission in the state actually basically issued a fine for $150,000 against Cynthia Petion and her husband, Eddie Petion. The state of Wisconsin did the same thing. They issued a fine for $50,000 because there were over 1,000 people just in one state, just the state of Wisconsin, who had invested money in NovaTech. The same thing for the state of Washington, as the state of New York. And I'm going to talk to you about this too in a minute. The state of New York, there were hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people who were going to NovaTech, opening an account, sending their monies in Bitcoin to NovaTech, not even understanding who the person behind it, whether they have licenses, whether they don't. So certainly, we all know by now that Cynthia Petion didn't have any license, and that's the reason why those states basically are going after her, okay? Now, I have contacted people in certain law enforcement agencies, And I know for a fact that the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, has an open file on both Cynthia and Eddie Petion. And they are investigating, they're putting the facts together, they're talking to people, they are investigating. So hopefully I get to speak to the agents out of the investigation, but they investigate. Normally the FBI doesn't tell you what they're doing. I mean, they're not going to tell you much. They might just tell you there's an investigation. That's it. But I also find out that the Attorney General of the state of New York had for almost a year now opened an investigation into NovaTech because there were so many people in New York and other places who are invested in NovaTech. So they're looking into what she did and her husband and this other guy named Roy who was working with them and other people, because there were, at least as I know of, at least 2 or 3 one Haitian doctors who were promoting NovaTech. Now, I'm not saying that these people knew that NovaTech was a Ponzi scheme. I'm not making that accusation, but I'm saying that they were involved. And if I was going to be involved in anything that has to do with dealing with people's money, I would make sure I do my due diligence. I find out whether the person is licensed, because in every state, in the United States, most developed countries have agencies that regulate people whose job it is to take your money and invest it for you, because these people have to be licensed, and being licensed is not easy. I can tell you one thing. If Cynthia Petion had tried to get a license, either as a broker dealer, either as a hedge fund manager, either as a securities dealer, there's no way she would have gotten the license. Number one, she had filed for bankruptcy. That wouldn't fly with the Security Exchange Commission. Number two, she had several judgments against her. She lost her property in foreclosure. There's no way in hell, in God's green earth, she would have gotten a license. Absolutely not. They wouldn't give it to her. And for people who have gotten licenses like Series 7, Series 9, Series 63s, those are all different series of licenses in the United States that you can get in order to get involved in selling securities, because obviously trading is a form of securities, okay? So she wouldn't be able to do that. And that's the reason that you should have never trusted your money with Cynthia Petion, because Cynthia Petion is a fraud. She is now running from justice. I mean, she will eventually get caught. She'll get arrested. Both her and her husband, both of them will be arrested. But this is a woman who spent the last almost 10 years lying to people, okay, committing fraud simply because she needed money to survive. And now, after millions of people have open account with NovaTech and putting monies in NovaTech, I've known people that have put in 100,000, 50,000. So there are tons. There's actually over $1 billion, almost $2.3 billion that have been estimated that Cynthia and her husband Eddie actually took from people not only in the United States but overseas in Africa, some people in Russia, some people in South America and the Caribbean. A lot of people around the world lost a lot of money. And the question is, how can we educate people to stay away from that type of fraudulent activities? And when I tell people this, and when somebody comes to you and they offer you something that is too good to be true, almost 100% of the time, it is too good to be true. So I am trying to educate you, and this segment was meant to tell you a little bit about who the CEO of NovaTech is, her past, her present, where she is now. And it didn't take me a long time to get all this document, guys. And of course, in all fairness to some of my viewers, I know for some people it's easier. I mean, I'm a former attorney. I know how to access the court system. I know how to find information. But I think that for some people, it might be hard, especially if they're not too knowledgeable about how to do this thing. But My advice to you is that NovaTech, Cynthia Petion is not the first and will not be the last companies that would come and try to steal your money. But the only way they could do it successfully if you fail to do your due diligence. Because if I had told you, and I want some of you to leave comments, in the bottom of the video. If I had told you 3 years ago, 4 years ago, when Cynthia Petion launched NovaTech, if I had told you who she was, if I had told you that she had filed for bankruptcy and she had had civil judgment against her, she didn't pay her bill, that she had gone into foreclosure, that she didn't pay her mortgage. If I had told you all this, I want you to tell me down below in the comments, would you have invested your money with somebody? Would you have entrusted your money with someone like that? And I bet you the answer is no, you would not have done that. So my job as a professor is to continue bringing you these issues so that when the next person comes to you or the next company that evolves come in and say they want to make you rich, they want you to have passive income, and so on and so forth, that way you would know it's a fraud. Because, guys, and I've said this before when I was working on MiniFX, people didn't understand this. I said this before. Cryptocurrency, it's a very complex digital type of money. The government hasn't yet figured out, really how to regulate it. So there are a lot of people who's going to take advantage of you because they know that, number one, you don't know. And number two, things are very somewhat a little murky. It's not very clear what's going on, okay, in terms of technology. Why would you invest your money in something you don't understand? I would not invest my money in something I don't understand. If I'm going to invest my money, I want to understand how I buy, how I sell, how much money I'm supposed to make, what's the likelihood I'm going to lose my money, how much of it I can afford to lose, and how long it would take to settle a deal when I do sell something, and how long it would take for me to get that money. Now, if you look at NovaTech website, the first time I looked at NovaTech website was probably maybe a year or 2 years ago. Just like a MiniFX, the first time I looked at it, and I was like, this is fraud. This is absolutely fraud, because there was nowhere in the website that either Cynthia Petion or her husband Eddie Petion or Roy or any of the people working with her said that they were licensed. There was no licenses. And I knew none of them had license because I knew that they couldn't get licensed because of the past financial responsibilities. But what is interesting is that Cynthia Petion made a lot of claims on the website, and I had so many questions about those claims. And I couldn't be the only person that had those questions. And people all over the world invested money just because somebody put up a website and say, hey, give me your money. I'm going to invest it for you in crypto, and you're going to receive passive income. Guys, think about this for a minute, okay? You give somebody your money. They want to buy crypto, okay? Bitcoin, there are different coins. They can buy crypto, whatever. They say that's what they say they're going to do. Now, when they buy this crypto, okay, it takes time to settle the deal, okay? And then how do they know out of all the people's money they take, supposedly they're buying this thing, how do they know which percentage each person is going to get? They don't know. And if you look at NovaTech's website, they show you this what do they call them? This screen that shows you that they have systematically get a return of 3%. That's what they tell you. But where's the proof? Did anybody say, hey, let me see your ledger. Let me see, which Bitcoin you buy. How did you sell it? How much you sell it? No, because there was never any investment. Just like a MiniFX, there was never any investment in NovaTech. So the money, the so-called 3% that you were getting, if you were getting any money, it's basically other people's money, like people that comes after you, they take their money, they pay you. That's all it was. It's a very simple Ponzi scheme. Now, Cynthia and her husband is somewhere around the world. There's been different rumors that they may be in Panama, and some people say they may be in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I doubt it, because St. Vincent and the Grenadines is a very small island, and I know a lot of people there. If they were there, I would have found out already. I don't think they're there. Some people say they may be in Dubai. Maybe they're in Dubai. I don't know, because certainly they would be smart enough to go to a country that doesn't have that doesn't allow the United States to exchange, fugitive from justice. Some countries like Russia and Israel, they don't do that. So they could be in a country like that. But let's not lose hope here, because she will. I mean, for her not to get arrested, she would have to absolutely go nowhere. She would just have to, stay somewhere and never go out to another country whatsoever. But with that much money, over $2 billion, I would doubt that she'll be able to stay put. I mean, maybe she might want to travel and enjoy your money. So I thank you so much for watching this video. Now you've learned a little bit more about who Cynthia Petion is, what's her background, that she never had a license. She probably never even go to college. Doesn't mean much. I'm just saying that the claim that she made are not, weren't true. Basically, they're not true. And there is investigation going on that I'm very sure of 100% there are investigation going on by several different agencies. And it's a matter of time before they, before they announce something. But the best thing is to find out where she is, and she get arrested and bring her to justice, so that the wheel of justice can will in and force her to say where the money is, the assets, but most of it probably in crypto anyway, are where these assets are. So that most of you, hopefully, who invested in NovaTech, thinking you were going to get rich, you were going to get money, you were going to do very well financially, can actually get your money back. So if you have not subscribed to my channel, again, I ask you to subscribe. I will post more videos about NovaTech. I'm waiting to get my lawyers in St. Vincent to tell me what's going on. I need those corporate documents from St. Vincent and the Grenadines so I could share them with you, so you could see what's going on. And certainly, I'll keep my ears open to figure out really what's going on with the law enforcement agencies and how this investigation is progressing. But like I've always said, meanwhile, there's a lot you can do if you were defrauded by NovaTech. You can also file a complaint with the FBI, with the Securities Exchange Commission. If you live in a country, let's say, for example, if you live in Germany and France and different countries in Europe, they do have those agencies that regulate that type of investment. You can actually file a complaint with them. And like I said, if many of you files a complaint, the agency would have no choice but to look into it. And I think when many agencies start looking into this complaint, I think it's going to put more pressure on Cynthia Petion and her husband, A.D. Petion. So I thank you very much for watching. Please do subscribe to my channel so you can find out what's going on. The professor will keep you abreast of what's going on. Certainly, once you subscribe, you will be able to get my video once I post them. So I wish you all well. And like I said, please be very careful. Don't invest your money in anything. Know what you're investing your money in. And most importantly, know the people who promise to invest your money, or the people who promise to help you make money. Because like I always tell people, and keep that in mind, guys, if I knew a way legally to be rich very quick, who do you think I would tell first? I'll tell my family, I'll tell my sisters, I tell all my friends, my best friends, I would definitely tell them. And then after all of them made money and I made a lot of money and I couldn't make any more money, then maybe I'll tell the public. Maybe. So when somebody comes to you and they say, oh yeah, we've got these things and you're going to be a millionaire, ask them the question, how many of your friends and your family have made a lot of money. And if they couldn't tell you, stay away. Stay away. Okay? Again, thank you for watching. I will see you next time in another episode of The Professor. I'm on the case.